This will be a brief video going over level all the things, which is included in the repository, and I will be going over how to make all of the gadgets in these two rows and some of the gadgets in the panel row. The panel avenue could honestly be an entire thing in and of itself, so I'll keep that for a different video. So what we start off with here is the music areas. So we have one large music area here, music area 3, and this is essentially, let's show you its collision shape. This is essentially everywhere within these borders is this music area. So whenever you enter this music area, it will set the music track to being one of these two songs. And it has two smaller music areas inside of it, which are, two different songs. So if I go on this blue panel, which is just for decoration, this is an area equipped with the music area.gd script. It's going to start playing music. It's going to change the track to that music, rather. And if I go into this here, you can see that it operates on body entered and body exited. And it's going to do some music player area entered and music exited stuff here. So there's a bunch of stuff here you don't really need to know very well. So you just need to slap a script on it and put the music in there that you want. So I'll show you what this sounds like in game. I've specifically modified the load.dd so that it plays the sound for me when I'm actually in the game. So this will change the music track to 1. I leave it changes it back. I enter this, it changes it back. And notice that body exited is not the same thing as body entered. So I have one thing being played here, I entered this box, and the music changes. When I entered this box, the music changes. When I exit this box, it changes back to the original tune, not to the one that was playing when I entered into the audio avenue. Because I didn't enter this area right now when I was left this blue area. I was still inside the larger area. So this is going to only take effect when I exit and then enter back into it. Now, this is a sound effect. It just plays... Oh, I need to unsolve this for it to play. So that just plays an additional sound effect for as long as I'm in top green. So let's look at how that area works. So, is this panel... Nope, that's just the sign. What I want to get is this area here. It can be hard to click on areas. Okay. I need to take a break anyways while I modify load.gd back to being silent so I can demonstrate the rest of the stuff. So I'll find this while I'm off camera. Alright, so I was under the impression that this was also an area. It's actually just an audio stream player 3D, and we can see here from the cone that it's just projecting its sound to the area directly in front of it. So if I also step to the side of that while round was still active, so here it's nice and clear. If I go to the side, as you can see, the sound is getting quieter and quieter as I move away from it. And that's simply how these work. And it has a max distance here, which you'll notice, which is the max distance over which I'll still hear it. So Audio Stream Player 3D automatically does that for you, and you don't actually need to worry about don't actually need to worry about how it works in terms of the scripting. Now it's just equipped with a visibility expression here so that the audio stream player disappears after this block is solved. I'll be going over visibility panels, visibility expressions later. So here we have some pretty clear stuff. We have full-size grid map, and we also have noted that the floor has been lowered by a slight amount. So let's click on the floor and verify that. And we can see that the floor, instead of being negative 0.5, is negative 0.501. And that 0.001 is just so that level 1 of a grid map is available so that you can do stuff like this, which shows up as a floor piece, which is also, I believe, what these are over here. Yeah. So these areas are just grid map tiles, and the floor is offsets that it peeks through. You will never notice that 0.001% except in cases like this. Now, it shows here that we have a full-sized grid map and that we have a quarter-sized grid map. So if I go into the cell size, it's 111 here for the large grid map. And for the quarter grid map, it's also 111, but the scale has been put to 0.5 in all directions. So quarter-sized grid map in this case is a bit of a misnomer. It's quarter-sized in terms of the area it covers. It's 1/8 in terms of the volume. 8 of them make a normal cube. Or 1/2 on the linear dimensions. So how you choose to call these is a bit arbitrary. But this is how you make checkerboards. If I go into the grid map quarter, you'll see this is only, a quarter the size of a normal grid map, or however you want to put it. So, and also these don't affect each other. So I can't erase things on the big grid map, and the quarter grid map can't erase things on the small grid map. So these can also overlap. So I can also, do something like this, and now I have Z fighting transparent green and this checker. Let's not do that. Let's leave that for quartz. So quarter grid maps or half grid maps can make for in-between heights. They can make for horizontal centering. So you might notice that this is between 2 blocks here. So now I can center it on a wall that is too wide without, doing some other magic. Mesh instances. Mesh instances are a general sort of thing. They are just, how do you make visual stuff appear in the world? A grid map is usually a mesh instance joined with a static body which has a collision zone. So this Blender Monkey does not have any collision zone, so you can't collide with it. If we go over here, we're going to see these are the type of things that would be in a collision map. So this is just a cube only, basic cube. It has no collision, so you can just walk through it. This is a collision only cube. And as you can see, it's not made of a mesh instance, it's made of a static body. Whereas the basic cube with collisions has the mesh instance and the static body is connected to it. So they are, one and the same thing. When I have mesh instances, I can do one-offs like this, where I just, instead of making a specialized grid map for this, a 1/3 grid map, I simply shrink down my mesh instances as required and place them on there. And I think there's actually, another, just a cheeky little extra plane there. Why is it not? I don't like it when it does that. So you can also make plane meshes with that. So let's go back to this monkey. So this monkey is a particular type of thing called an array mesh. So an array mesh can be whatever you want, but in this case, it's probably loading in something that was made with Blender. You can see all the other type of meshes you can make here. So a capsule mesh is just a capsule. This is what the player actually collides like, by the way. Cube mesh, obviously cube. Cylinder mesh, these are all basic shapes that you can access. Point mesh is... let's not get into that in this video. So prism mesh, quad mesh will be just a basic plane. Sphere mesh, and text mesh is one that you'll be using a fair amount if you really want to. So if I go into text mesh here, and I go into text and start typing in stuff, like this is text, then I surprisingly won't get anything, possibly because my shader material is empty. So let's go into, let's just make it something. Oh, my font is empty, that's why. So let's just load Lingo. Here we go, and now we have it showing this is text. So I didn't actually need to set a material for this, did I? No. Because this already has material set under material here. So materials can be set under the meshes, in which case they'll follow that mesh to every object they're set under. They can be set under the mesh instance part of it, and they can be set under the geometry instance part of it, which would be material override. So all of these will affect different layers of things. Most of the time, you're just going to care about changing the mesh instance's material. Okay, so I skipped over these. So the floor is a mesh instance. That's all it is. Mesh instance, static body collision shape. It's just, a very large mesh instance with a very large collision shape. But you only need a single one of them. And doors are a special example. So doors are a packed scene, which you can see with this little thing here, this little notation here. Panels are also a packed scene. So if I click on this, it'll open up the packed scene that is doors. So we can see that I have a door, I have a hinge, I have a mesh instance, static body collision shape, and animation player. And this is the animation that actually opens the door. It's just called open, and it's the only one. And it just slides the hinge down instead of the door. There's a couple of reasons why it does that. It makes it more convenient to move something, for example. So let's say I wanted to modify how all the doors work in my scene. I can't modify this packed scene directly. That's because the only reason this packed scene works is because it is included in the base game files. So anywhere I have the door packed scene present in my map files, it's just going to say, hey, use the one that's already in the game. And the game does not know about your specific packed file. It just uses the one that's in there. So I will have to make local, or editable children, but I'm going to make local in this case. And because I also want to change this hinge. So the hinge now is going to, here we go. I want to change it over there and have the mesh instance and collision body move back. Oh yeah, the mesh instance is the parent of the static body, so it already moves it back. And now when I move the, oh, I see, because the hinge is already in a natural kind of state there. So I want to insert a key here, which will now cause it to go there. And now you can see it's going downwards, which is not what I want. What I want to do at this point, I'm just going to delete this. Go back to this. So now it's just staying still. What I want to do is have this door open up this way. So this is why I moved the hinge, so that I could rotate it around the hinge. And now I'm just going to insert a key here. If it lets me insert a key. There we go. I need to click on the actual track. So now when I play this animation, it's going to, apparently there is a key animation before the key animation. So which one do I have here? Ah, this one. There we go. And now this is back here. Did I modify the key? It did not modify the key. This can be frustrating at times. So now it's best to just clear the track instead of doing what I did. That's all. Learn from my mistakes, not from what I do. So now, there we have it. The door swings open on a hinge. So you can do a lot of things with animation players, and that's generally the easiest way to get stuff to move around in-game. So as you saw, I just have something like the hinge here, and I just need to modify keyframes that determine what happens, what happens at each point, and the game will automatically determine what happens in between. So there's a lot of tricks to playing with animation players. I won't get into them. This has just been a very basic tutorial about them in the middle of a larger video. So resizing and rotating, that's easy to do with mesh instances that you introduce once, and you can just see this is just rotated here, 45 degrees or whatever. I can use these and just rotate this. I can rotate a grid map, but if I rotate a grid map, it's going to rotate everything on the grid map. So let's just, Oh, I accidentally selected that. Yeah, so I end up rotating everything on the grid map, which is not really desired behavior. So if I want to rotate just one thing, don't make a grid map just for it. Just make a single mesh instance like this. You can even make it with collisions if you want, and then just rotate that to you please. Now the grid map glass and mesh glass here is showing a difference between grid maps and meshes. So this is effectively 4 mesh instances stacked on top of each other, and that's why we can see the edges between these, which is, the Minecraft glass look. This is just a single mesh, and as a result of just being, oh, that's a sign. As a result of just being a single mesh, it doesn't have any internal edges to show, so it won't. Just that simple. Custom shapes, I showed you some of the shapes before. Custom materials. So materials are a tricky one. They kind of have to be included on whatever you're doing. Here's where you would change the material. If you're using a material not included in the repo, then you will need to actually make unique it yourself. And you can see all of these have been made unique. By the way, because I have the animation player open here, everything is showing me this key thing which says insert a keyframe. I can change any of these properties inside in animation. So let's just go back to normal so I don't see those cluttering up my thing. So this is just a basic shader. I might do a shader thing, a shader tutorial at some point, but this is just showing density and speed for showing a rainbow. So this is just showing some. So all this is doing, it implements very basic hue saturation value to red, green, blue, and then it's using that and then multiplying it back in order to change the colors of that. So yeah, it's basically just cycling through the different hues. So that's that. Stairs. Stairs are a type of packed scene. So when you want to include a packed scene, stairs, you just include the stairs small color or the stairs big. Stairs color. Yeah, there we go. In your scene, and you will have stairs. And then, instead of doing them again, you just can duplicate them and have as many stairs as you want. So these can also take material selections here as part of their script. So what is their script just a color replacement? Yeah, it's just a color replacement. So visibility expressions are the last thing I want to go over in this. There is obviously a lot of stuff that can happen here in panel land. Visibility expressions and autosolves. So in Autosolve, I have a couple of areas hooked up here. Let's see if I can get them to click. Here we go. Autosolve Area 1. So Autosolve areas just primarily work with panels, and they solve stuff on enter or exit, or unsolve stuff on enter or exit. So you can see here that when I enter red, it solves that particular panel. When I enter this one clicked on yellow, yeah, I actually got it here. It unsolves yellow when I exit it. I can also have it do the opposite, that it solves yellow when I exit it and unsolves it when I enter it. But then yellow still will not be solved until the first time I enter yellow and exit it. The autosolve area only works when you enter it. It does not constantly check whether or not you're ever in the area. Or, in this case, if you're out of the area and whether this should be solved by default. If you want it to be solved by default, set the panel to be solved and then mess around with that. But these can take an arbitrary number of panels to be set. Visibility expressions are a bit more difficult. So let's see what the visibility expression is here. So visibility expression takes a number of panels, or optionally a number of panel groups, and then it says, hey, make a Boolean expression out of those panels. So what I have here is the Blender monkey is put to panels 0 and panels 1. So panels 0 in this expression returns a, this is looking at the first panel in the array, because arrays start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it says if it's solved, and, so the double and is and, the panel 1 is solved. So in this case, that's the A panel and the B panel right in front of us. Then, whatever the hell this visibility expression is under becomes visible. Otherwise, it becomes invisible. So I can also make the monkey invisible until we solve both, just by going and panels, not panels, the exclamation mark is not panel 0 and not panels 1. So if you're not familiar with Boolean expressions, and you're not familiar with arrays, this will be very opaque to you. And yeah, sorry, you're just going to have to learn. This, since it implements panel groups, it also implements some extra features. So let's go into the coding of it so I can see what it does. So I have evaluation context. I can also say any, I can also say all, and I can also say count. So if I'm looking at a group, so let's see, I have panels and I've never actually poked in this code before. I'm just kind of vaguely familiar with what it does. And I think I have panels and groups. Here we go. So if I'm looking at panels, I'm looking at stuff that has been put up here in the panels group. If I'm looking at groups, then I'm looking at panel groups that have been up in here. So that's basically when I look at the parent to a panel group, and I just want it to count all of the panels in that group. So then I have the operations any. So if any in this group or any in panels are solved, then it solves it. If all of the ones in the group are solved, that counts as, the true. So instead of saying panel 0 and panel 1 and panel 2 and panel 3, I can add them as a group and then go group. I'm not sure what the context is. Evaluation context. Is it panels.any? I will need to read the original. That's probably a good idea. Just a second, I will bring up the tutorial on this. So here we go. Over in Mapmaking tutorials, Kiwi has made a tutorial on visibility expressions. So if you you just drag and drop the visibility expression in as a child to the node that you want to affect, as we saw with the monkey, it will hide whatever it's a child to and all of the children and children descendants of that node. So what I was talking about here is that groups 0, so the thing for count, any, and all is count groups 0, so count brackets group 0, or any bracket group 0, or all bracket group 0 will do the things that you might expect from there. So count is usually the one you'll be using most often. You can also, instead of saying equal to, you can also say more than or less than. So here we have counts group more than 4. So counts equal 5 requires exactly 5 panels is what Kiwi is saying here. So now I haven't actually shown you what this does in game, and some of you might not have ever experienced those panels before, so let's go in and see what they do. I will wait for you to catch up to me. Cool. So now, this is just A. It's hard to hit because the sign is overlapping it. So right now, I have A only, and I have B only, and now they're both active. So I have some three things here, which is A, B, and both, and they have different visibility expressions, which will show them in different situations. This is hard to undo right now. There we go. So I have B only, and of course, the monkey is supposed to be both, but we changed the monkey so that it was neither. There we go. And so, you know, here's our monkey again. So that's your basic introduction to visibility panels. You'll want an explanation of Boolean logic in order to fully use them. Briefly, I didn't show these either, so entered red. As you can see, it's currently at a yes. I'm standing in the area, so it's not going to activate again. But if I exit it and enter it, it solves it. With yellow, I told you in there that it would solve it when I enter, and unsolves it when I exit. So I can also... Now it's solved, and when I enter it, nothing happens, but when I exit it, it'll be unsolved again. So as I was saying, it's only when you enter or exit an area that's important. And I don't think we needed to show anything over here. Stairs, oh yeah, I just demonstrated the collision. So I can walk through this because it has no rigid body, but I can't collide with this because there's a rigid body there, or rather a static body. Even though it doesn't have a mesh instance, it doesn't care about that. Collision is completely separate from the visuals. And I'm not sure what opens this door, so I can't open it and show you in-game. But I don't think you need that. So, that was your overview of everything in Level All the Things. As you can see, this is a pretty long video, because there's a lot of little gadgets here, and I can't even give you a full tutorial on all of them. There's just one last thing I want to show you, and that is, I've been telling you to include things in your scenes, or to drop them in. So, how do you actually do that? So one way is, if you know the name of it, you can look at stair down here, so example, and I'll find a lot of stuff that I don't really need here. I'll find a lot of models here that I don't really need. What I'm looking for is the nodes here. So stairs.tcsn, and then I can drop that into my stairs here, my stairs node, or anywhere I want. That'll come in as a spatial. Where is it? And now I have this. So I can just drop things in from here to place them where I want. They'll by default appear at the origin, and then I can just move them to where I desire. I can also just duplicate things with Ctrl-D and copy-paste things with Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. So those... Duplication tries to create something in the same spot. Copy and pasting will take exactly all of the same variables and then apply it to whatever node it's in. So if I duplicate the stairs, it'll just put something to the same parent. If I copy-paste, it'll move it to wherever I have it. So duplicate, I have another stairs 4 with the same child here. Copy the stairs 4 and spatial 3. Now I have spatial 4 and spatial 3 here. So duplicating, copy, pasting, they're almost the same, but not quite. Now, you might also be wondering, how do I put scripts on it? Because these have a nice little script here, and these don't, even though I took them directly from there. So I think it's actually the stairs color that comes by default with it. So let's just drop that in there. Yeah, the stairs... it automatically has a script, which is what this script icon is in there. And that gives me the ability to change its material. If I wanted to apply a script to something that doesn't normally have it, I could go over here and click Attach Script, which would make a new script. Not really what I want. I could also go to the bottom here of the node in the inspector and quick load or quick load, and this will give me all of the scripts that are available here. So there's a lot of stuff here. You probably only want to put stair color on the stairs, but you could put conceivably almost any script on almost any node. There are some ones that will say like, oh, I actually inherit from a mesh instance, so you can't put me on anything that's not a mesh instance or doesn't inherit from a mesh instance. But in general, you'll want to be putting doors on doors and teleports on teleports. Now, I mean, there are different types of panels. So if I click on this panel here, you'll see that it is a proxy panel. If I open proxy panel, by the way, you'll see that it extends panel main.gd. So it extends panel main instead of, so it takes in all the stuff that panel main has and it also adds all this code to it. So if I wanted to turn a normal panel into that, so what's a normal panel? This is a panel end, I believe it is. Yeah. So if I wanted to change a panel end into a normal panel, I would just load the normal panels script, which is panelmain.gd. And so now this no longer actually solves anything. It no longer has a solution because it never had text or answer in the first place. It had different things that it needs to be a panel end. So now I can go in game. Set surface material in base null instance. Oh, I added a bunch of scripts here, bunch of stairs here, and one of them does not have the material interface that it needs. So there are some things that you'll get into there. So now I have changed the end, so I can write the end. This no longer brings me to the credits because it's a normal panel instead of an end panel. So at some point, I might go through all the scripts that are included in Lingo. I might start a documentation project or something. But for now, you'll have to go through all the different scripts yourself and figure out what they do. There's a lot of really helpful ones, and you can also, of course, filter here. So if you want to explore the scripts, most of them are in not the nodes panel here, but in the scripts thing. And this will introduce you to a lot of different scripts. And as you can see, like we have panel countdown, panel destroy, panel end, panel input. Nope. Panel input is something that's on every panel. That's for one of the panel components. Panel level switch, panel main, proxy panel, panel warping. I think panel warping is actually one of mine, and it's not included in the game. I forget. It's been so long. So you have tons of stuff, and then you have some custom scripts here. I wonder who wrote most of, or half of these, or a good part of these. So that is your brief introduction. And it is actually brief, to Level All the Things. If you want to know more about Level All the Things, then feel free to play around with it. To play around with the level in the editor and in the level.